Hey guys, I keep having interactions with salespeople, other business owners, where it's just painful when they're selling to me. And I want to help you be a better salesperson. If you own your own business, if you're in sales, whether you sell real estate or whatever it is, I just want to help you out with some basic stuff. Okay, so some of you might not love this, but it's going to be helpful. First off, whenever you're with somebody and you're in a sales call, or if you're across from somebody, remember that this is your moment where you can use your secret sauce, your ability to connect and move the ball down the field professionally. That's what you're going to be doing. You want to connect personally and move the ball down the field, like in football, you're taking ground professionally. You want to go back and forth between that, and you need to have an instinct to know when do you take ground in each area. You also don't want people to feel trapped. You don't want them to feel manipulated. You want them to trust you. And the only way that someone's going to trust you is if you put investments into the trust bank, okay? And this pretend trust bank has a couple different things. You do have your credibility. Do you produce work that you can point to show that you do what you say you're going to do? There's that, right? But more importantly, I think in both fields here, on the professional and the personal side, you can put coins or put dollars into this trust bank, or it's kind of like how much equity do you have with them? And the way you do that is by asking questions and getting to know what their world looks like and what their professional, what their business, what their operations, what their career, what the tensions look like in that operation. Those are the two main things you need to be doing. So you should frame up in your mind that you're going to do this 80-20. 80% of the words that get spoken in that interaction should come from them. 20% should come from you. So opposite of this YouTube video where all I do is talk. Success is going to look like when that other person is absolutely jabbing away because you've tapped into something they're passionate about, they care about, that they love, that they like, that they hate, that they want to rant about, whatever that is. Your goal is to tap into those things to get them talking, not to manipulate them, but because then you can see what makes them tick. You can see, and if you have this come from a place of authentic curiosity about people, which you need to cultivate, then that kind of, I think, comes from a love of people, right? And if you don't love yourself, you can't love others. If you don't believe if you could say love self, I would say if you know that you're made in the image of God. Some people would say if you love yourself. However you approach that, you have to be whole yourself. You need to have a wholeness about yourself so that you can look at other people and care enough. Because I know when I'm crabby and things are going bad and I'm in the dumps, it's very difficult for me to put emotion and energy into being authentically curious, to give the time to hear other people talk about their situation, because I'm wallowing in my own pity party. That being said, you need to have an authentic curiosity and start figuring out what their life looks like. Move from least intimate to more intimate, right? So you start with easy things, the weather, the company. So how long have you worked there for? How long have you lived here for? Have you come to this coffee shop very often? If it's on the phone, it's a little bit more difficult, but you can start with how long they've been in business, how long they've been doing this for, how long have they been buying this type of machine, how long have they been in business for, what was it like when... You need to start asking those two buckets of questions, personal ones. Ultimately, with the person, people love to talk about themselves, people love to share, and even if they don't love to share and talk about themselves, they may be an introvert, they do care if somebody takes notice of them, and if someone gives breath to at least let them communicate, even if it's slower and it takes more effort. An introvert, you don't want to freak them out, and you also need to give them outs. People don't want to feel trapped either. So when you ask questions, it shouldn't be, you have to avoid entrapment. So usually when I'm asking questions, you can couple a question out. So you should get good at this. And it only comes from practice. Get in your car and role play, right? This sounds stupid, but if you practice some of this stuff, I like to ask, I always lead somewhere in there like, oh, so you've been doing this for a long time, or how long you been in business for? And then they start telling you, okay, so now who's all in the operation? And I'm just trying to get my bearings of the business and them, but I'll ask things like, so what do you have? Cats, dogs, kids, fish, hobbies, wives? Like, what do you do when you're not working? And what I'm doing is I'm giving them, I like that question. What do you have? Cats, dogs, fish, kids, husband, whatever. so that it's okay if they don't. It's okay if someone's died. It's okay if they've had a tragedy. You kind of give them, and you can read that, but it at least brings enough of a smile that if they want to, they'll go straight to the puppy and only talk about the puppy, right? So you give them this safe off-ramp, if you will. But I'll couple up questions. So how long have you been in business? And what did that look like when you first got started? When and what did it look like? So I'm giving them the option. Basically, if you can present, it's almost like a choose your own adventure. You want to ask questions in a manner that allows them to choose their own adventure of where they want the conversation to go. That way they can steer it and they don't feel manipulated. That's one of the biggest keys to communication. They will not feel manipulated if you give them an out to go where they prefer to go. And then you can shorten it up the second you get some of those nonverbal cues where they kind of sit back and they sigh, or they check their watch, or they look at their phone, or you can just tell by the way they moved in that you need to move quickly. Then what you want to do is some back and forth between presentations and qualifying questions. But ultimately, if you're calling on them in a sales situation, just cut to the chase. Yeah, so I do, you want to share a little bit about what you do. So you got to get that down to probably 10, 15 seconds, maybe a minute at most. And what you're doing is you're alternating questions, which make deposits in the trust bank, with statements, which make withdrawals from the trust bank. Anytime you start talking, the trust bank starts to go down. Anytime you ask them to do stuff, the trust bank starts going down. And the more you can make it about them, to not be narcissistic and about you, the bank's going to go up. But every time you talk and present, you're bringing that bank down. So then what you should do is follow up any short presentations with follow-up questions that allow you to pivot from there, right? So quick presentations. Yeah, so my name's Rob, so like I said, I've been doing like websites, digital marketing, and I love helping small businesses. And really what I do is I love connecting with small businesses and make sure that they've got their digital footprint set up so that they can get their core focused client to find them, and it can just be a great ROI for them. So I help them do that stuff that's just painful. Now, so that's my presentation. Now, have you ever invested in this before? What have you done with your website before? Now what you should do is you should find out what they've done already, right? So if I was a financial planner, I would say, yeah, well, we call it comprehensive financial planning, right? We like to build a retirement plan. We do investment advice. And essentially what we do is we just want to make sure that you maximize your upside, that we keep you from having catastrophes, and make sure that you get good values in insurance, and I sell insurance, and so be upfront and frank. But we love to help you figure out and do this retirement thing well. So have you done much with retirement planners, or what have you been doing up to this point? Like what kind of investing and retirement planning have you been doing up to this point? And you sit down, you take notes. Doggone it, if you're in a meeting, take notes. If someone's not taking notes, even in this digital era, you communicate and you fill that trust bank up so much if you listen with your fingers and you do it in a consistent way, and you can come back to it and you can remember it. I'd even challenge in important meetings, how do you know what was said, first of all? Second of all, how do you want another layer of trust building ability, and doing that is ultimately going to help you. So take notes, listen, go back and forth between quick presentations with follow-up questions, and those questions should be around, so what have you done in this before? Have you ever hired a financial planner before? I bet you get called all the time. Let's be frank, there's a financial planner calling on everybody all the time. What have you done with that? Is it annoying for you? Have you tried it before? Has your cousin called you with Primerica, or what? You know what I mean? Like, figure out what they've actually done. Now, here's the last thing. Remember that you don't want to go for the kiss while you're there. You don't want to go for the full shebang, the whole, you're not trying to sell right there. Good sales you need to understand them deeply, and you should drive towards an analysis. So the idea is there you're making a connection. You want to be presenting what you do in terms of value proposition and authentically what kind of stuff you do. And you want to find out, are they interested in that kind of thing? Do they see some opportunity in it? Maybe you need to pose some questions that let them see, wait, yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. Maybe you have some facts that, hey, did you know in this area, this keyword is searched this much, and I think we could help you probably get some clicks to your website and some phone calls. Would that be good? How much? So you start figuring out how much per transaction, what do they really sell, what's their core focus, what do they love, what do they want to do more of in the future, and maybe you could help them with that. But folks, listen with your fingers. There's so many tips there, but the bottom line is it's 80-20, them talking to you. And you need to invest into the trust bank and know anytime you're talking, you're withdrawing from it. And just get the other people talking. Talk about them, doggone it. If you're talking about you, you're losing. You're withdrawing from the bank, and you need to know when that bank is running even low. So get that EQ, emotional intelligence, and good luck with everything you do.